My name is Marissa, and I'm going to do a tutorial today for the Potomac Bead Company. For today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this bracelet that I am calling my Tranquility Bracelet. So, for this project, you are going to need Coco beads. And the ones I'm using, there are two kinds. They're the kind that have the holes that go through the sides here. Well, let me put it down. That have the holes here. Like there, going in through there. The kind for this project, they're actually the ones that are called horizontal. So the holes are going in through here. Not through the wider part, but through the more narrower part here, like that. So these are the ones you're going to need for this project. The Coco beads horizontal, or the packet says Coco H bead, and I'm using the jet blue luster. The size of my bracelet, I'm making a 7-inch bracelet, so for mine I need 16 of these horizontal Coco beads. You're also going to need SuperDuos. I'm using the chalk travertine. You're not going to need very many. You're going to need just two, that I believe 32. My bracelet I believe uses 32, so it's not a whole lot. You're also going to need Rondelles, and I'm using the Potomac Bead Company Rondelles. You're going to need size 3x4, and I'm using the Crystal Magic Blue, and this happens to be one of my favorite color of the Rondelles. They're just so beautiful, and they go with so many colors. You're also going to need seed beads, and you're going to need 15-ohs, 11-ohs, and 8-ohs. I've chosen to use two colors of 15-ohs. I'm using it's an Opaque Turquoise. I'm also using the Miyuki brand. They're both Miyukis, but one of them is Opaque Turquoise. The other one is Galvanized, Duracoat Galvanized Champagne. For my 11-ohs, I'm using the Metallic Light Bronze. And for my 8-ohs, I'm using the Miyuki Opaque Turquoise. Also, to be able to fasten my bracelet, I'm using a cup button. But you can use whatever kind you like. You can use a lobster clasp or a toggle. I prefer cup buttons. To string everything, I'm using Wildfire beading thread in 0.006. I'm using the color white. You need 2 beading needles, and I'm using size 10 beading needles. For your thread, I threaded 6 feet of beading thread, and it was enough for mine, so 6 feet for a 7-inch bracelet will work. If you're going to make it bigger, well then you'll just need to use a little bit more thread. If you're going to make it smaller, well, a little bit less. Also, something to cut your thread with, scissors or a thread burner, and just to flatten your thread ends to thread your needle. Flat nose pliers will help with that. Okay, so go ahead and gather your materials together, and I will show you what to do first. Okay, for this first step, we are going to be using our Coco beads and our SuperDuos. So this is for your base, the base part of your bracelet. So let's pick up a Coco bead. My needles have been threaded with my Wildfire beading thread, and I'm going to take the needle on my left hand, go through one hole, the needle on my right hand and go through the other hole and pull. Hold your bead in place so that you make sure that when you pull, it's right at the center. This is not one of those projects where we're going to start with our cut button or a clasp, we're going to start with the bracelet already. So this is what you have, very first step. And just make sure that all your holes are cleared in both your SuperDuos and your Coco beads. Well, your Coco beads, it won't be a problem, because if one of them is clogged, you'll just put it aside and get another one, because you're going to use both holes on this round. So after you put in a Coco bead on each needle a SuperDuo, and let those drop all the way, and then pick up another Coco bead, and once again, one needle in one hole, the other needle in the other hole, and pull. You still have to hold your beads because it's still, your thread is still kind of loose, so you want to make sure that your work stays at the center of your thread. So this is what you have. Pick up another SuperDuo on each needle. And I'm checking my holes as I put my SuperDuos on my needles. And then after you do that, pick up another Coco bead, a needle in each hole, pull, and this is what you should have. And then just kind of help it to sit right. Okay, another SuperDuo on each needle. And then after your SuperDuos goes another Coco bead. One needle in one hole, the other needle in the other hole, pull. The good thing about these Coco beads is there is no front and back. You just put them on your needle and go. Well, at least with this color. There might be some other colors that have this, just the regular coloring on one side and then maybe a shinier side. So if those are the kinds of Coco beads you're using, just make sure you're using the color that you want to be facing up, that they all look the way they're supposed to, that you're putting them all with the right side up the way you want them to go. So this is the base part of your bracelet. Very simple, very fast. For my size, I'm going to use 16. So you started with a Coco bead and you're going to end coming out of a Coco bead. You're not going to end with SuperDuos. You're going to start like this and end like this. So go ahead and put on the rest of your Cocos and your SuperDuos, and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I finished putting my beads, my Coco beads and my SuperDuos, and I have my 16 Cocos on, and this will fit me just fine. Now, as soon as it fits you the way you like, you can go ahead and stop there. This bracelet is not going to shrink, so you don't have to worry about that. Also, there's something, this Coco bead has the holes, I don't know if you can see it, that are too close together. If you happen to come upon one that looks a bit irregular like that, don't use it. You want to make sure all your Coco beads are like this, where the holes are right. You have one here and one here, and they're separated, or not separated, but they're on your bead the way they're supposed to. The holes aren't too close together like in this one. So just don't use any beads like that. Okay, so now we're going to put our cut button. So we're coming out of a Coco bead. Pick up on each needle an 11-0, and I'm using the metallic light bronze. On each needle goes an 11-0. Pick up another 11-0 and cross. Cross through that. So that's what you have. Now on each needle goes 3 more 11-0s. 3 more 11-0s. I'm going to put this one down for a bit. I'm going to pick up my cut button. I'm going to go through the bowl, under the bowl side with one needle. I put my other needle down for the moment. I'm going to decorate the inside of my cut button with an 11-0, an 8-0, and 11-0, just to put that color in there since I'm using this dark color cut button. And I'm going to pull. Now I'm going to pick up my other needle and go up that cut button on the other hole on the other side. So it was one needle going in through one side and the other needle going in through the other side. And I'm going to take this needle and go through that middle bead. So, and just pull if it gets loose up there. And then go down my cut button, down these three. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Down these three. And I'm going to go ahead and cross through this 11-0 again, where I crossed before. I'm going to cross through it again with both needles. And I'm going to come out the needle, the 11-0 that's on the side of that middle 11-0. So I'm going to be coming out both of these needles here. Just like this. See? Coming out. And just pull, take your strings and pull to get that snug. So this is what you have. Your cut button is on and you're coming out of these two 11-0s like that. So now we're ready. We can put our SuperDuos away. Now we're going to use our 11-0s, our 15-0s, our Rondelles, for this step. So from here, we are going to connect now. We're going to pick up some beads on each of our needles and we're going to connect to the SuperDuos. So there's not going to be any crossing of anything. Your needle on your left hand is going to work all the way down on the left hand side. Your needle on your right hand, the same, all the way down on your right hand side. No going back and forth, crossing, just down the bracelet. So since we're coming out here, we're going to pick up two 15-0s, an 11-0, a rondelle, an 11-0, and one 15-0. Now the reason we picked up two is because since we're just starting to do our fill in here, you're going to have a little bit more space here just because it's the beginning of your bracelet. It's going to be the same way when you get to the end of your bracelet. So let's go through our SuperDuo and pull. And don't get caught on anything like I just did. And I'm going to do that with the other side. Get these 15-0s closer to me. Two 15-0s, 11-0, rondelle, 11-0, one 15-0. Go through the SuperDuo. Now, don't get too ahead on one side. Do a couple, maybe three, and then switch on over to the other side just to make sure your tension is right, is equal on both sides of your bracelet. So that's what you should have. And this rondelle will fit really nicely in that little tiny little groove there of your Coco bead. So now we're going to our second segment here, our second unit. So now it's going to be 115-0, an 11-0, rondelle, 11-0, 15-0. Go through the SuperDuo. And that's what you should have. Do that on the other side too. 15-0, 11-0, rondelle, 11-0, 15-0, 15-0, and go through that SuperDuo. So this is what you should have. Another very, very easy step. So continue doing this all along your bracelet on both sides, and when you're done, you should be coming out of this very last Coco bead. But remember, when you get to that last one, when you're finishing up here with your seed beads, just the way you started here with 2 15-0s, you're going to end it here with 2 15-0s as well. So this is the very last segment. It's going to be 15-0, 11-0 rondelle, 11-0, 2 15-0s. And then I will show you what to do after that. Okay, I filled in my sides with the groupings of 15, 11, rondelle, 11, 15. And now at the very end here at your last Coco bead, like I said, it's going to be 15, 11 rondelle, 11, 2 15s, and then you're going to pick up, it's going to look the way it does here like it does at the beginning. You're going to pick up an 11-0 on each needle and cross through one more 11-0. And then after you do that, because you see how it's loose and funky, you're coming out of this middle 11-0 where you crossed. Now, your needle on your left hand, go down this hole here on your Coco bead. Do the same with the other one. Down that, it's right above that hole of your Coco bead. Now you're coming out of your Coco bead like this. Now we're going to go back up. You're coming out of this hole on your right hand side, your right hand needle is. Now jump on over to the other hole, to the hole next to it, so you can be coming out on the left side. And do that with your other needle as well. So you're coming out like this. Now I want you to see, this is where you're coming out. You're coming out of your Coco bead, just like that. Now I want you to go back into that middle 11-0 with both needles, and you're going to cross through it again. So take both your needles and go in like that. So you're coming out. You've already set these in place there on top of that Coco bead, and you're coming out of that middle 11-0. So now we're ready to do our loop, and I'm just going to use my 11-0s for this, and I'm going to pick up, I'm not really sure the count, but I'm just going to pick up till, I'm gonna eyeball it for now, and then I'll just check with my cut button once it looks like it's about right. And then if I have too many, I'll take what I need off, and if I need a little bit more, I'll just add. But for right now, I'm just going to put a whole bunch until it looks good. And since I don't have a crystal on my cut button, I just have 2 11-0s with an 8-0 in the center. I'm not going to have to worry about putting extra than I usually do to make them all fit. This might be a little bit too much, so I'm going to take out two 11-0s. I'm taking out, and maybe not. It's always fun to get your thread tangled around your beads like that. Okay. So this is what I have, and I'm just going to kind of test it. And it looks too big. So let's take out 2 more. These seed beads that I'm using they're 11 nose, but they're a little bit bigger than my regular 11 nose. And they say Miyuki, but I guess it just happens sometimes with certain colors. So that looks better. Yes, it is. So I'm coming out of this middle 11-0. I've already strung my 11-0s on here, so I'm just going to go into that same 11-0 in the opposite direction to make my loop. I'm just going to check it one more time, and I'm actually going to take out 1 more bead because I don't want this loop too big. I don't want to have to worry about it falling off my wrist. So I'm just going to take out 1 more. And that should do it. Whoop. So 1 more time, checking that, and we are good. And I'm going to take my other needle, and I'm going to go through all of these beads as well. So this will reinforce your loop. And what I did, I've already made this bracelet before. I made one last night, and what I did was I reinforced it three times. I don't like to just have 1 thread, and 2 threads is okay, but I really like doing 3 when I can. And right now is a good opportunity to go ahead and do it again. But I'm on camera and it's kind of boring to watch that, so I'm just going to leave it at 2. So this is what I got, and both of my needles are coming out of that middle 11-0 here, and we're going to go into the 11-0 next to the one that I'm coming out of here. And now, once I'm coming out of the 2 11-0s on each side, well, the 1 11-0 that is on either side of my middle 11-0 here, now I'm going to go into the Coco bead with my right needle in the right hole and my needle on my left hand in the left hole. So this is where I'm at. This is how I'm coming out, and I'm ready to do my last step for this cute little Tranquility bracelet. This is already really cute the way it is, so if you want to just leave it like this, you can. It's cute, but I still want to add that 1 more up here that goes there. So we're going to do that next. Okay, for your final step of your Tranquility bracelet, coming out of this Coco bead here, on each needle goes a 15-0, 15-0 on each needle. Pick up an 8-0, cross through it, pick up another 15-0 on each needle, and simply go into your Coco bead that follows. So this needle on this hole, in this hole, the right needle on the right hole, like that, and pull. And that is going to set your 8-0 right on top. Now, your bracelet is not going to sit flat once you add your beads on top. It's going to have a slight curve, very slight, kind of like that. But it's going to look really nice with this little 8-0 on top. So let's do that again. On each needle, 15, 15, Let those drop. Pick up a NATO. And if you pick up a NATO that's oddly shaped, don't use it. Pick up another one. Okay, so I crossed through my 8/0. Now on goes another 15/0 on each needle. Let those drop. Go into your cocoa bead. This needle, left hand needle on the left hand side, right hand needle on your right hand side hole, and pull. And your 8/0 is in place. See? Really cute. One more time. 15/0 on each needle. Let it drop. 8/0, 1 8/0, and cross through it with your needle on your left hand going in, coming out on your right side, with your needle on your right hand going in through the bead and coming out on the left side. And then after you cross, 15/0 on each needle. 15/0 on each needle. Let those drop. And go into your cocoa bead. And that will set my 8/0 in place. So just keep doing this down the whole length of your bracelet, and I will show you what to do after that. Okay, so I put in my last 8/0 here, and I'm coming out of my last cocoa bead, or the very first one I put on. It's the beginning of my bracelet, and I'm coming out, both my strings are coming out of one hole. This one's coming out of this hole, the right string's coming out of the hole on the right side of my cocoa bead. Now I'm going to go up the 11/0 that's here in the center, the one that connects to the, well, they all connect, but it's the one that is crossed through. You see how it's in the center, and then it's at the tip of the V of the beads that make up the, here. It's at the center here of this V that makes this little grouping that attaches to the cut button. So I've taken each of my threads and I've crossed through that 11/0 again. I'm going to go ahead and leave just one thread just hanging there. The other thread, I'm going to go ahead and go up the 11/0s, and I'm going to reinforce my cut button one more time. I already have 2 threads going in. This will be a third. So I caught that 11/0, that 8/0. Now I'm going to go down this 11/0, and I'm going to catch those. Well, even if I catch the 2, that's fine. I can still go in through the third one. Just like that. Just like, someone's not cooperating. There we go. Now my threads are meeting. There's one coming out of the 11/0 here where we keep crossing through, and then there's one coming out of this little grouping of 3 that's attached to the cut button. So they're meeting, and I'm just going to kind of take it to the back. I'm going to remove my needles so I can just tie this easier. And I'm going to tie a knot. So I have my knot. Well, I tied it once. One more time. And I'm going to tie it again. So this is our little bracelet. me just burn off this thread. Okay, so I tied my knots, and I'm just going to burn off my thread. And I'll ball that up with my thread burner a little bit later. But this is what we have. This is our bracelet, and see how it has a little bit of a curve. But this is what we got. Very cute. Very cute. And this is how it looks on. And it's a sweet little thing. So this is our Tranquility Bracelet. So here it is. So this is very simple, very fast, but you get a cute little bracelet out of it. It doesn't look like something that you made in an hour or possibly even less than an hour. It's really, really cute. So I hope you like this. I hope you enjoyed making it. And thank you very much for watching.